Also, very quickly, there's a film called Cuck, which is available from, I think it's available now. Cuck, C-U-C-K, which is a horrible word, which is it's a derogatory term which is used by kind of alt-right, internet morons to dismiss men who aren't manly enough. It's a term that is used by people who use terms like feminazi. Film starts with a cant quote about somebody who makes himself a worm has no right to complain about being trodden on. It's about a loner, Ronnie, who lives with his religious mum. He lives in the shadow of his soldier dad, who was a war veteran whose pictures adorn the house. He puts on his uniform in secret. He's trying unsuccessfully to get into the army. He keeps getting knocked back. And his few friends, who are, to a man, racist, sexist, horrible, all assure him that the problem isn't his. The problem is the world. We're going to hear a clip, and I will warn you in advance that the clip includes some very offensive and derogatory terms. These are the kind of people with whom the central character is hanging out.
I had some Middle Eastern fella come in here trying to on some brake pads, and I'm standing there, I'm thinking, I live in the greatest country in the world, and I got to stand here and defend it against this caveman who thinks he's standing in the middle of some third world camel market or something. My friend, oh, my friend, my friend.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. That's why I want to serve. That's why I want to go to the army.
Well, they'll be lucky to have you, Ronnie. They'll be lucky to have you. Unless, of course, they're all right now. I think you got to be transsexual to get in now.
Yeah, that's probably true. My friend.
My friend. Oh, my friend, my friend.
So he's surrounded by this kind of stuff. He's becoming more and more embittered. He sets up his own site, a Real Patriot site, in which he does these blogs about the truth about women after failing to chat up somebody at a bus stop, about how the whole country is being taken over. And he gradually sinks into rage, which another character who is smarter then sees the ability to research. The filmmakers went to exploit. The filmmakers researched this by researching online communities of the people that referred to themselves, the word incels, which is another word which I had never heard of until Joker came out. And the script was then workshopped through the blacklist. And apparently the script proved very polarizing. And then there were some stories that when the film opened, there was a big publicity thing about the fact that according to some Google thing, it had made $0 at the box office. And there was some stories written about it saying, this is the story that Joker should have been. This is the film that Joker should have been. And there was actually an article in The Guardian which said exactly that. If you think that the Joker is a portrayal of this kind of modern taxi driver, in fact, this is the film. The thing about the film is it has virtues and problems. On the depiction of somebody being turned to extremism and exploited by those smarter than him, then that is kind of on the money. And the central performance does have a real pathos and vulnerability. The problem is that the central character blames the world in general and women in particular for his woes. And to be honest with you, the film kind of does too. His mother is this grotesque, passive, abusive character, always berating him, always belittling him, betraying him. The woman that he tries to chat up at a bus stop is really, really aggressive to him. The neighbor who he fancies actually turns out to be somebody who's a sex worker who then gets him involved in her industry and exploits him. There is a whole kind of homemade porn subculture plot which is completely unnecessary, largely misguided, and is, I think, put there in order to sell the film, which is kind of weird when people say, oh, well, this is the proper story, and then Joker was the not proper story. There's comparisons with Taxi Driver, particularly as we move towards, what's inevitably going to happen at the end, which, again, do it no favors. It's like the thing about anything that draws attention to Hitchcock doesn't really help. It's significant that in terms of Joker, the primary thing was King of Comedy. And I was also put in mind of Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer and thinking this is no Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Now, I know that some people think that the film is, an admirable portrayal of that horrible, spiteful, alt-right, internet-provoked extremist rage. And I think that some of its intentions are good. But I think the problem is that it trips itself up in an over-dramatization of that. And I think it falls into some of those problems. And it's called cuck, which, as I said, is a horrible word that I wish I'd never heard.